Hello, everybody, and welcome back to some WARNO League action. As we're going back into some more Division 1 action, don't you worry, guys, we will come for the other divisions. We still have a lot of time in the group stage, and we want to cover first some of the top matches. And we're gonna go in with PastalaVista, who just got promoted into Division 1 here, and is up against Griffin, who had their first season last season, and Griffin was showing up real strong, so let's see what Pasta can do here, playing some of the favorites. 82nd and Territorial Commando Süd was 79th and 6th Division Legere, two relatively meta divisions, so this should be fun ones, starting here on Mount River. And yeah, what can we tell about the deployment so far? Alright.
Yeah, so 82nd was picked by Pasta as a counter pick to the current ranked meta juggernaut 79. 79th is probably in its best spot since a long time. Last season we saw old dog Lathans kind of bringing out of retirement and played really strongly with it. And then with the cluster, the high altitude bomber buffs also really benefiting 79th seriously. And we're seeing 79th rely on its kind of standard but powerful recon opener. We have a full card of Vet1 Motorasvedka with the Rasvedka BMP 1 piece, which are above everything, Fagot carriers. They have AT missiles, older generation missiles. Single Spetsnaz GRU is going to try to take spotting over the middle with, of course, a recon helicopter, which is what you're always going to have on this map because of the way it's laid out. Griffin is building up a... Is this one? Yes, one Kub, one Tunguska. Kub has been deleted now, and a single tank with some standard infantry. So seems like a very consistent defensive opener where the first defensive line is going to be basically set up by the Rasvedka BMP once, because even a standard infantry fight with an airborne or airborne fire team or whatever probably going to beat out a Motorasvedka, but it's never going to be worth it to just march onto the suppression or the firing radius of the BMP-1. So that inherently kind of sets out the battle lines for 79th to start scaling up. And scaling up is what 79th wants to do, just buying the expensive stuff, getting the combined arms without bleeding too many points. And when it comes to the bleeding points factor, if you look at Pasta here, Pasta is doing a very heavy attack at the middle point of the 2-point zone, as well as deploying into Anna, which is the northern zone of the red player. So this would immediately turn into a pretty serious tick. Most likely, Griffin is kind of betting on the ability to do an early mid-game counterattack before there is a massive wall of TOW2s that are very effective against even the heaviest Soviet tanks. Kiowa Warrior, very crucial here. Kiowa Warrior is a absolute killer. It can be microed to the extremes and it can take out anything. And it's also very vulnerable, but as long as that Kiowa Warrior exists, Griffin has to plan out movements around it.
Yeah, and Griffin going really defensive here with the Spetsnaz JU, recognizing that they can't play aggressively here, and they don't have to. They just have to stop the enemy from getting to the 2,000 points too early. And then they should be fine in the long game grind. So we'll see how that all goes. Stinger moving forward. The little birds coming in here. BMP 1P slowly retreating in the south. Getting away from the little birds. But those are the minigun little birds. They can't really hurt anything outside of infantry. So we'll see how the southern units here of Pasta will fare. They have a laugh that could do well if the BMPs get stand down. But those are the BMPs who smoke, so they just smoke off and stay defensive there. Whilst Pasta gets into Anna, that is really what you need here as Pasta. Needs to get the CV into the zones. Only has one on the battlefield right now, though. So isn't really getting a massive point lead just yet. That Humvee CV has to make it into the center.
I don't know, down southeast, there was an Igla line of sight issue, and the little birds managed to take it out. And now, if that little bird can. No, I think it's going to be shot down by the PKT machine guns here. But so far, Pasta is getting some pretty decent trades down south. There's an Humvee AGL and an LAV, which are some of the heavier units that you can have in 82nd.
Ooh, Kiowa Warrior goes down though in the center. Bit of a miss micro there. Not quite keeping it far enough back. That's an annoying loss there. Whilst the Totu going after BMP-1 PGs, but BMP-1 PG here, good choice over the BMP-1, over the BMP-2, because it's a lot cheaper while still bringing similar anti-infantry firepower, and that's what you need against 82nd. You don't need to deal with enemy armored vehicles, you don't need the Conqueror's missile, you just need anti-infantry capabilities, and the BG brings that around.
Yeah, the 82nd is generally considered quite weak in rank gameplay because it is so specific. It is a very expensive. Oh, and there goes the T80. The single T80 goes down. Oh, at least the Tunguska and the Igla managed to get a really nice counter shot there. And there are more T80s in the deck than there are F-16 AT planes. And Griffin, having already bought the second T80 and a TO-55 for the southern region, is not going to be caught lacking with the tanks. But yeah, that's if that's something that can be kept up, if just for like 50% or 30% of engagements that the tanks are going to be lost by Griffin, that's significantly increases the likelihood that Pasta can develop a 1,500 point lead, and which is what is going to need to actually deal with the end game of 79th. Now, Griffin already is scaling very heavily. Like we're seeing a literal grad under 4 minutes, and the grad is going to be targeting. It's actually going to target the TOW 2, which is interesting. But I guess if you have enough supply, might as well use it a little bit inefficiently.
Yeah, the AGL here doing a decent amount of fire support, but on the other side, we have a Plumia as well, so the Humvee gets countered in that regard, and both sides losing infantry. One of the issues of 82nd is that their infantry pays quite a bit for the forward deployment and their relatively good AT weapons, so that they don't really get that combat efficient against other infantry. They don't have any special forces in their ranks, so compared to other airborne divisions that usually get at least 1 or 2 cards of good special forces, you don't really get that in 82nd for combat special forces. You only get the LRS, which you really don't want to use on the front line, and that always has been an issue of 82nd, and that means that losing those infantry units here that are relatively expensive does hurt quite a bit. But for now, the +3 is online. +4 would have been even nicer. No CV currently at Anna is a bit annoying, but that could be changed. Yeah, the Humvee is at least rotating full around. Not the most efficient pathing here of Pasta, but a relatively safe route. And currently the +3 is fine. Though we see the BMP-1P already getting close to the middle, already about to topple that. That is a problem. Apache trying to come in, but the Tunguska is fantastic against Apache, so this is a really scary route to take here. Apache rocket coming around. Gets pushed back by the Igla already. Sheridan coming in, but there is a T80BV IZD here, and we always have to know airplay on this map never goes well, and I'm not quite sure how to deal with a T80BV in this position now with anything else but air.
Yeah, I mean, you get like 1 Eagles. You spend the points, the cost of a single F-15 Eagle into 79's air defense, and you're probably gonna like win the air engagements, at least in the long run. Cubes are amazing at whittling down enemy planes and just making them so impractical by leaving them at 1 health, so they need to take a long time sitting back. And Cubes are very cheap, and they're safe to resupply, and they're an easy choice. Of course, 82nd does have a seed plane, but that seed plane is just another investment that currently Pasta wants to use into regaining the middle, because with a Kiowa Warrior possibly moving in, spotting and taking out the tank, it is possible for the airborne infantry to get in there. But right now, Griffin is really kind of succeeding in what needed to be done, which is get some kind of a mechanized force to defend the south so that the enemy cannot threaten Leonid. That has happened already. There are Saperi RPOs which perform excellently as long as they're supplied with the RPOs. Fighting against airborne, Saperi also get the shock trait, close range trait, which helps a little bit. Strategically place Plamias, win engagements against even veteran infantry, and very few units for Pasta to attack here. Griffin is bringing out a fighter plane. The MiG-29 AA-3 is a quite decent plane. Nothing amazing, but shot down the Kiowa Warrior just like that. And this game has now is going arguably pretty bad for Pasta. Pasta hasn't won any crucial engagements so far.
The Hawk in the north doing a decent amount of work right now, but he doesn't quite have the unit numbers to follow it up with. That could be a way of threatening the balance on the map. If he wins the northern flank and he actually gets a wide flanking arc to set up good ATGMs and so on with, that could be helpful, but that just doesn't seem to be quite working out. He gets pushed back, and another T-80B VIZD on the way there. TO-55 holding the flank in the south, so no Leonid capture. And when you are hold on the smallest front line possible, and that is exactly the case with how the lakes play out here and the river by narrowing down the front line, then your airborne division is in a really, really terrible position on this map if you don't already have an amazing tick going on, and that's not the case here. Not even 300 points of lead is actually quite bad for 82nd at this stage in the game, and yeah, I'm not quite sure how you get more here. Like, just seems to be a relatively odd pick, and yeah, Griffin knew how to approach it with a slow push through the center, and Pasta currently suffering the consequences.
Yeah, it is the mid-game meta. People are divisions are so powerful and so like well understood that people like Griffin can, with divisions like 79th, they just know how to do this. And you bleed a certain amount of points. You wait until you have a critical mass of this many automatic grenade launchers and this many AA pieces, and then you push. And because AB TOW2 units cost 100 points plus 20 for the 20 for the transport, and you know it's gonna take time to get them all out. Humvee TOWs are 85 points, but they also, if they're spotted, they can be one shot by tanks. There are significant vulnerabilities here, and Pasta's division requires a series of victories and to deplete the enemy and buy time to actually get all of the stuff out. 82nd airplay, especially in late game with the Apaches, can be very scary. The problem is getting there.
Yeah, and also the problem is deploying it on this map, because you don't have the nice overwhelming flanking attacks that you can do with air on wider maps. You run into 5 coops, and even with seaplanes you just don't stand a chance. You will get shot down and whittled down into nothingness with your air force over time, and that just isn't the map for 82nd to use those assets either. And 82nd really is on a bit of a pickle, because they don't really have the cost efficiency to go on wide maps and take the whole flanks, because their units are a bit too expensive. And they also can't win the long game with the air power on maps like this, because the air is just a couple of coops still shut them down in the end. And that is really the reason why 82nd currently is a relatively lowly seen division. And yeah, why Pasta's pick here is a classic Pasta pick, but maybe not quite the best here, banging around in Division 1.
Yeah, like the LAVs used to be this like overpowering force that could just ruin people, and they're still quite powerful. The guns are good, and they have a good soft attack and all of that, fast, very fast. But the problem is, Rasvedka BMP-1, it has, what is that, 3 armor, right? And 3 armor is pretty good against the 4 penetration gun at max range. They also get a cannon and a missile. And the cannon, if it hits, can just like one-shot the LAV. And the missile, if it hits, one-shots the LAV. And the Roswitka BMP1 opener is just a hard counter to the LAV, and LAV is then forced to become an inefficient fire support unit.
Yeah, and the Sheridan here, relatively decent nowadays, but still not a great vehicle. And they had no way to get around into the enemy rear here, no way to bring good good infantry into ambushing position in the enemy rear, to bring helicopters around the flank and let them come up and down again. Like all those things that you want to make swift movements with, all of that doesn't really work here. It's just now a pretty classic and heavily entrenched front line with ADBVs and BMP2s everywhere, and F-16s try their best. Get another kill here. Ooh, might get out alive. Nice little kill there, but you need good couple more of such maneuvers. And the question is, yeah, it's 30 minutes into the game. Stuff like this is still possible, but let's go 5-10 minutes in more when we have 2-3 more cubes on the battlefield and see if that's still possible then. And I worry that it won't be. You would have to get better attrition rates here than we see right now. And it's even Griffin now starting to push, not Pasta anymore, and that is a troublesome side.
Yeah, the seed plane currently is not getting hits because the Cougs have run out of ammunition, and the airplanes, especially the AT planes, can still just slow down Griffin and force them to wait for another fighter and force them to, rebuy expensive tanks. But it's under 300 points of lead. The under 300 points of lead is the main character here. Just Pasta's not being able to hold the middle for any longer. I think it's kind of forcing to play very desperately. And the form of the desperation right now is just to force a decisive battle against the enemy at Anna, which is some of the closer ranges for infantry to fight, so it's not exactly tank country. But the BMP-1 PGs with the grenade launchers can just sit back easily outside of the dragon range and just do free damage. It's a 40-point unit going through these 70 point and 65-point infantry units. The moment the airborne cohesion is lost, the moment they're down on red or black cohesion, they are going to have to run, and that's what we saw here. And of course, these buildings are only going to be here for a moment, and every time the Grad fires a salvo, the Grad also is a hard counter for exactly this kind of defense, just close defense with elite infantry.
Yeah, and in the south, no movement there. That maybe could have been a way as well to kind of outflank the south, but Modric stopping the whole push there. Lav not doing any movement. The center really has been taken at the opportune moment before there was enough reinforcements to really entrench it for Pasta, and that push of the TADBV really worked out nicely. Artillery getting some solid kills in the north as well, and there is no artillery to really keep up with this on the other side, and that's another issue. Playing this map without artillery is such a weird choice. Like, this map is terrible for air, and it's fantastic for artillery. And every single time we see someone playing air heavy decks on it, it fails. And yet, still, even in Division 1, people still pick air heavy decks on it, and we still see it fail. Like, they are all insane here because they all try to do the same thing and expect different results. And, yep, that's the WARNO community for you in a nutshell, guys. Spetsnaz GIU getting killed off there. Hogs getting good kills, and maybe we will see a different outcome this time, though it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, the hard counter factors here is that we have the Hogs and the Apache rockets and all of them, and they can anytime a Soviet infantry squad gets in range, a soft target, they can just launch those rockets, Hydra rockets, but also Tunguskas just counter them. So as long as Griffin is willing to sacrifice a few Motostrelki units or Sapere units, can uptrade significantly by picking out those helicopters. And now the Apache has been forced to push back or move back.
Yeah, we see more airborne units trying to come in there. But as soon as Anna falls, the tick will go on for Griffin, and he doesn't even need to take it quickly. He just needs to get it in the next 15 minutes, and he will be fine. And by now, the amount of Tunguskas and Iglas here has become quite significant. The coup got killed, so that's a bit of a miss micro there by Griffin. Not losing some of the coups, that's the only potential way of starting to go onto a downright spiral here, but it's still relatively unlikely. So let's see how it goes. FX16C AT coming around. And yeah, the AT plane coming in here, trying to get some more shots, but we won't see that easily coming around. Sheridan getting some attacks in. Gets pushed back. All the airbornes fall to the Crud launcher. Yeah, good usage of artillery here by Griffin. Cruds, we don't see them that often, but against infantry heavy divisions, they're really efficient. So really good choice of a unit here. Obviously, better on the map as well. But yeah, against vehicle heavy divisions, Grad not the best choice. The damage against tanks and IFVs is relatively mediocre, but against infantry, it is really good. And 82nd is all about the expensive infantry, so cost efficiency here for the Grad goes through the roof. And with that, Anna does fall, and with that, the game is starting to fall into Griffin's hands fully now as well. Situation here really, really grim for Pasta, and yeah, we'll know Pasta tries to play more infantry-focused divisions with good air, but if your enemy picks Mount River, you need to have a mechanized division ready to go, or at least something with a bit more staying power and a bit better artillery than 82nd Airborne.
Yeah, like even if you want to do your forward deployment aggro, like I mean 4E, for instance, you can use limited recon rush the middle, and then just try to follow it up with a series of long-range ATGM defenses and airplanes, and then in case you need to do a counterattack, you can start massing the heavy tanks. There are alternatives here, and I think like 82nd, especially as a counter to the 79th, it just they get 2 cards of coups and Tunguskas. And if you get your seed up, and seed, of course, can be very powerful if well controlled, Tunguskas can just turn off the radar and keep on firing missiles. Oh, it's the same thing with the Strelas and the Eagles. You don't have a clear way in dealing. Like the stars kind of need to align for 82nd to be valid here, and I would say that even other airborne divisions like 39th or damn even 76th could actually have like worked better here, just in the way that how quickly they can bring out ATGMs.
Yeah,
and they're not limited into the most expensive ones.
They are not as reliable on helicopters either, and helicopters in 82nd are great, but the Apaches are really expensive, and who's got the perfect counter? And it's not like he got counterpicked by 79th. He knew it was 79th. He knew the enemy had Tunguskas, so taking a division that needs Apache ATGMs to deal with tanks, it's a bit weird choice when the enemy tanks are protected by some of the best anti-helicopter missiles out there with 3,000 meter range against helicopters. So yeah, the Soviet mechanized corps here is just doing its job. 79th Guards has been the king of WARNO for a long while, and is by now in the history of WARNO starting to overshadow 3rd US and 8th US and 39th, and starts to become the real division of WARNO history. Maybe being closely followed by 2nd Panzer Grenadier on the way there.
Oh, good thing you mentioned it. I was just gonna pull a massive flag reading 2nd Panzer Grenadier behind you or something. No, I mean you don't have the camera on, so the joke wouldn't work. But here we see the grasping of the airborne division defending, failing to defend against a tank push here, which is just more and more large infantry squads and TOW 2s just trying to throw themselves in front of the line. But as long as there are Rasvedkas, which will spot things for the T-80s, there are expendable infantry units that can just move in and find the enemy, such as the Saperi and the Motostrelki, and there is and if you build up as 82nd Airborne, if you build up a airborne TOW 2 in a church tower, for instance, right hitting the T80 right now. There is more than enough artillery. There's the Grad for large concentrations, and then the Acacia for singular targets. This is it really is just the combined arms is the way that the meta is right now, and 82nd just doesn't have it. Like, what do you have here? Sheridan's? No.
Yeah, and the air really not going to be able to break through, as there is no flexibility here. 82nd is a division that really wants to have a couple of infantry strongholds, and then outside of that, rotate around its couple of light vehicles together with helicopters, together with a couple new infantry pushes and the Air Force. But Mount River just doesn't allow for that. The geography of this map is just all about the little strong points around the map on a really narrow map, and picking an infantry division here is just kind of a weird choice. But we know Pasta loves their weird choices. We know they don't always work out, and yeah, this is maybe we will see Pasta's limits this season, as Division 1 is new territory for them. Pasta did play really, really well last season in Division 2, but Division 1, you really kind of need to play the meta to some extent, and also really bring your A game in the picks and bans and the gameplay. And in this one, to be honest, it wasn't even great gameplay from Pasta so far, and the pick and ban obviously was kind of messed up if you don't ban 79th and then counter pick it with a weird choice like 82nd.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said this before, but Airborne is not in a great place in the game right now. The people have mastered medium tank and mid game pushes very well.
I think also the biggest killer for it was the map pool. Like, the map pool currently doesn't allow for you to get a +5, +6 tick with forward deployment, which was the main way how Airborne won in the first, like, their games, because they hold that for 10 minutes and they win. That's not really possible anymore. You need to have late game plans, and most Airborne divisions don't quite bring that. And yeah, infantry divisions can do it. Infantry divisions with good artillery can do it, but Airborne divisions, yeah, they are all around currently in a bit of a weird spot. 82nd, and especially because of their surprisingly weak infantry. Special Forces infantry can do a lot. The Airborne are high veterancy infantry, but they're not Special Forces. None of them. And that really leaves you down, again, especially as your strong anti-infantry, your engineer forces in this division are pretty terrible, actually. Like, those are not efficient. The Flash engineers, Airborne engineers, and the normal Airborne engineers are just less efficient CQC infantry, because that cost you 5 points extra, and that leaves you down hanging, because mainline infantry is not that amazing currently at pushing into ground.
Yeah, I mean, I just like to point out, back when you could just win the games with the like airborne rushing, the game was so much worse. Like, I personally love to do that on loop, especially just always keep sending the backline action cars, and then the CVs, and then enemies would realize that the CVs had been there for the last 5 minutes, and they would just rage quit. And it was a great fun, but it wasn't really not the way the game is supposed to be played, I don't think. But Airborne used to cater to this certain kind of a player kind of fantasy of just, you know, throwing out the big strong burly guys and all the nice airplanes doing ace combat missions. But the game has been made more realistic, let's say.
Yeah. And the situation here now panning out. I heard the victory sound, but my game is not.
Yeah, yours seems to have locked down.
That is weird.
Yeah, so KDR 1.88.
That is the weirdest bug I've ever seen. I'm in the hangar now. Like, I'm looking at the hangar floor. Okay, that is a new bug. Today we learned. Yep, that is interesting. Gonna restart the game here real quick. No kitty, but yeah, Griffin obviously won that. And we will see how Pasta will approach game number 2, because that will be on Black Forest, and that's for sure a more Pasta style map with a lot more space for actual maneuvering. So we'll see how that all goes, because there we're gonna see a division that I'm pretty excited about as well. Territorial Kommando Süd, with the latest introduction of the trainer trait that one, or instructor trait. That one should be really fun. The Green Berets now a fantastic infantry unit together with the Heimatschützen. And the 6 Leger can be really explosive, but also if they start taking losses, can collapse quite quickly. So let's see how it goes all there. Quick break, guys, and then we're going to be back with game number 2.
Round, round, let's spread, round we go.
So here we return. Game number 2. PastalaVista on the left side, Griffin on the right side, with 2 light infantry divisions. And before we jump in, real quick shout out to the Matcherino page, guys, where you can support the whole shenanigans without even having to pay anything yourself. All you have to do is go to the Matcherino page, click the claim code button up here on the top right, and add 25 cents to the prize pool for free. And the faster we get through them, the more we can get added. And big thanks to Cardinalson as the latest contributor with a $10 contribution directly, getting us to $217 already. Let's see how far we can push it. And once more, the reminder also that anonymous community member will also spend the amount of money that we get up to $1,000 to the amazing Action Against Hunger. So every little click here also contributes indirectly to charity. So click the button. It only takes a second. Link in the chats right now. And let's get into Griffin 65 versus PastalaVista here. As Pasta brings around quite an interesting force here.
Yeah, so TKS is what I dubbed some time ago, both of these divisions really, but TKS more so, is what I dubbed 1% body fat attacks, in that you have a lot of nice stuff. You have recon forward deploying Gazelle cannons, you have Green Berets, you have Fallschirmjäger B1s, you have a cornucopia of different more or less affordable ATGM units. You have AMX-10s, which are some of the best opener units in the game. And then you can follow that up with a mass of reservist forces and standard West German and certain French units as well, especially in infantry and reservist tanks. And the problem is that when TKS does its attack, it cannot afford to slow down, and it can bring out a lot of like cheap and even some pretty advanced fight bombers to keep up the aggression, and it also can bring out pretty decent air defenses because it's a reserve division. But if it loses any piece of its opener issue, if it doesn't get things done with the spec ops, if it doesn't get things done with the AMX-10s, if it gets locked into a bad long-range engagement, especially against an armored foe, it can completely run out of steam. So the counter pick by Griffin of 6E, which is the AMX-10 division, it is the elite infantry and fast opener-based French division, kind of does the same thing as that TKS does, but even more so centered in the opener. The Gazelle Celtics are amazing AA helicopters. They are great, not just denying Pasta the usage of their Gazelles, his Gazelles, but also potentially shooting down any of the cheap bombers that are going to be coming out probably soon enough. The Pasta also is bringing out the 6-man Green Beret squads, but so far we have not seen any of the reservist units that could benefit from the instructor trait. And the 6-man Green Berets for 60 points is pretty expensive if you don't use all of their all of their skills, such as the smoke grenades and the instructors. And so far, kind of seems like Griffin is just going to open and do a recon rush into the middle. And yeah, Griffin immediately buying 2 more AMX-10s at the first minute. So just wanting to build a mech blob before TKS knows what's happening.
Yeah, there is no infantry on the whole side of Griffin here. Not a single normal infantry unit. There are some couple of recon infantry units, but no like baseline infantry tab infantry unit here, which is pretty interesting. On the other side, we have the Green Berets. We have a couple of pioneers here. If they can dig in with a couple of ETGMs, that could be pretty powerful, but the AMX-10 RCs here of Pasta have to be careful. They already get hit up, they are outnumbered, and you can't afford to lose them because they're the best tanks that you get in that division as well, and you get a lot fewer of them. You need to beat the enemy with ATGMs, and if those you get pushed too far back, ATGMs are not great on the offensive, so you need to keep hold of the area around Bravo. The northern area around Foxtrot, not that important. You can get Charlie instead. But Pasta isn't really assertive in that terrain either with the Aufklärer. And that is a bit weird as well, because you have the forward deployment advantage and so on as TKS, and you have the better infantry, so you should for sure be assertive around Charlie. But I like the M48 reinforcements here. If they get to the right places, the MX-10s, at least 2 of them still alive. We see the first couple of kills here going around. Oshide going down. but the Legion units here still pushing, and the ATGM's not really in the positions currently to fight that back. The first Green Beret already eliminated by the pure MX-10 firepower, and the Milan here in a bad spot, not firing full range. Oh, gets the kill against the leader though, as Griffin doesn't really push it hard enough. Retreated his recon units and lost line of sight there, so the Milan 2 still pays off here. Interesting. VLRA Milan should rotate around. You really want to get the shot from behind here. F111 LGB not dropping. Oh, Crowdfunding and Celtic get the hit, pushing it out. That is terrible news for PastalaVista here, as the M48s are coming in and they need to find some action here.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think Griffin expected Pasta to take advantage of the Green Beret and the recently very popular and trendy infantry stacking with the Heimatschützen, as you said. But this, even though that didn't happen, the AMX-10 opener here is performing just gangbusters. They do such great damage, and with their numbers, they're fighting against these M48 reservists. The reservists take extra stress damage from shots, which lowers their combat efficiency, especially their rate of fire, significantly, even just after like 1 or 2 shots, even if they are not seriously destroyed, or even if the enemy just near misses. And Pasta is countering here by buying more M48s, and now with also emergency Gazelles. And the Gazelles, the problem is with the Gazelles is the enemy Gazelle Celtics, armed with Mistrals, which are some of the best light AA missiles in the game, arguably the best. And Pasta still has a Roland, and the Roland could move and do damage to the Gazelles. But also the Roland is probably really scared about all of these very good optics AMX-10 recon cars hanging around.
Yeah, and the VLRA Milan never pushing up to the north, never firing long-range ATGMs. Like the usage of the ATGM teams here, a bit odd from Pasta. Like that is one of the main advantages of TKS. You get an insane amount of ATGMs, including some really cheap ones, and even the Milan ones can be really efficient against MX-10 RCs. They still one-shot them. They only have 3 frontal armor. The Sublimes or the Legion one have 1 extra frontal armor, so they survive one shot, but they're still down into nothingness when it comes to hit points and stress. So Milan once actually would have been the unit that I would have spammed out in this game if I would have played TKS, because MX-10s suck against them. Instead, the M48s were the unit of choice, and we saw that doesn't really work out if you don't get the right angles of attack. And Pasta absolutely didn't get them so far. Green Berets and Pioneers here sitting out. We see Pasta now realizing that Charlie is open. That at least is something, but if you can't reinforce into Bravo, you're still in a pretty terrible situation here. Gazelle Cannons of the enemy, at least, get shut down or pushed back. So the Green Berets and Pioneers here will survive a bit longer, but M48s here trying to rotate around. The Gazelle Hot, not really the great unit here with the Celtics and the Cortel on the other side. And yeah, this situation here really relies on ATGM hits that, with only a couple of ATGMs, are not that easy to achieve. You really need to have a bigger wave of that. The LGB finally comes around again. Is this time around getting a bomb drop off? Going after the Crotel, but gets hit and pushed out again. Mirage 2000 might even go for the kill here, as there is no iHawk on the other side yet, but the Roland 3 will keep the F111 alive as well. Gets out, but Milan 2 here trying its best to achieve something. M48's pushing over the open, but yeah, they are not tanky enough to just push into 17 or 19 penetration guns. Milan 2 here not a unit to push on its own either, so situation once more stalled out, and Pasta in a lot of trouble here because the trades lately have been terrible.
Yeah, and the Gazelle Celtic, one of the powers, as you could see with that artwork trying to do doing the bombing run, is that these Celtics have 4 Mistrals, and they're all in the same weapon salvo. So they can just quickly, after the first one, without aiming again, they can just fire a new one. And this rate of fire, when you have 3 Celtics, is just a reliable damage dealer. And because they're only 60 points, they're basically the cost of a Mistral unit on the ground anyways. And they're really fast and you can land them, and AA missiles in this AA helicopters in this game are in an excellent position, and I really do think that Pasta played this. I mean, Pasta was counterpicked here, of course, but I think when that happens to you, I think there should be something more unexpected, like that Milan won by that you said. There is nothing in sixth Leger that has armor that needs a Milan 2. Milan 1s are aplenty, they are cheap, they are expendable, and they are also stealthy. And it just I think Pasta is being maybe a little bit intimidated here, and just trying to not make mistakes, trying to not do any wacky or fancy stuff, especially not after that last game. And but what we're seeing here is that Pasta is kind of playing TKS like he would play any other division, and the F-111s, dropping its bombs and getting some damage done, taking out the leader is all nice, but Griffin has this massive combined arms force that is prepared to basically do anything, and even these infantry engagements, the Legionnaires will win them with any kind of fire support, either VABs or Tarasks or AMX-10s.
Yeah, and without Heimatschützen in the mix, their combat efficiency of their infantry is not really there either. The Green Berets are actually not that amazing fighting infantry on their own. Like, they are special forces, sure, but they're only 6 men. Their damage output is relatively limited. They are really good assisting a group of infantry around them, not even just Green Berets, Heimatschützen, but also just by helping out with smoke grenades, and the instructor trait gives the extra level up for other units like the Pioneers here as well. So they are really good when you group around them 3-4 extra infantry squads, but that's not how Pasta used them here. Pasta really should have played around more with strong point setups, but that didn't happen here. The AMXs of the enemy, with the good mix of recon AMXs in there, does work out, and Pasta is in a world of trouble here now. Smoke coming in, but Griffin's heavy mech opener working out on a map that usually does not really go that well for mech pushes like this, but Griffin got into the important spots and then didn't push further, never got any AT weapons of infantry shooting at them, and there were just not enough ATGMs on the battlefield to make them retreat or get punished for staying out in the open fields.
Yeah, it's like the great recon infantry, the Spahis currently are almost gonna be able to get LRAC shot into the M48s. And at this point, if you look at the reinforcements here, I think Pasta is just doesn't really know what to do. So he's just trying to get numbers out of something, and that something is tanks. I was gonna propose that, like, if Pasta wants to play like this, that Brunette, the Spanish armored division, would be way better for this playstyle. But then I also realized that Griffin had actually banned Brunette, and yeah, I don't like.
M48s just seem terrible on their own here. Like, M48s would be good with a couple of ATGM vehicles behind them, so that they tank 1 or 2 shots and then the ATGMs push or kill the MX-10s. But M48s are not good at the dueling stuff here, and like trying to use them that way and focusing down on the M48s is just weird choices of TKS. And we know that Pasta has played this division quite a bit in the past, and Pasta usually not somebody to mess up the combined arms aspect of their gameplay, but in this one they just totally chose the wrong combination of units for the matchup, and yeah, then games start to look like this, where you lose Bravo and you never get an angle back in here now at this point. Like, there are just too many good anti-tank units on the other side, and the infantry of 6 Leger is not maybe as deep and as cost efficient as yours, but it is strong infantry, so no way you're getting back into Bravo here, with maybe with an insane amount of good A10 fire, M10 fire, but that is not likely, and there is no real way into alpha because Charlie wasn't played hard enough. There was never a flanking attempt here. Like, the map was given up to Griffin in the first couple of engagements because AMX-10s were matched up against more AMX-10s, and that's just not the way to approach this matchup.
Yeah, I think I mean we should mention that Griffin did recently like win a big tournament and is currently like the top dog of the moment. We of course you can never know who is the best player. That's not really the consideration that we have, but the player that is considered to be the one to beat is absolutely Griffin. And with Pasta just recently ascending from Division 2 into Division 1, I do not blame anybody for being a little bit intimidated here. And yeah, this is, Pasta is still like the next step is going to be try to do a 7 infantry unit attack into Alpha, which is currently defended by the Sipahis, and there's some legionnaires around as well. And, maybe there could be a contestation, but I just have a feeling that these homogeneous groups of zero vet infantry are not going to perform as well, not without their Green Beret instructors.
Yeah, that's also a reason why you shouldn't waste your Green Berets, because your Heimatschützen are pretty shit without them. They're amazing with them. They're pretty shit without them. So using your Heimatschützen without the Green Berets is bad, just like it's bad using your Green Berets without that Heimatschützen. So it goes both ways there. And yeah, I'm not optimistic that they will have a good time beating off Legionnaire Sapeurs on the other side that are coming in. Mirage is here going deep. The M48's trying to push forward, but there are just MX-10s everywhere that can take a pot shot and hit them. And M48's here just not able to push forward. And yeah, as you said, like Pasta maybe just playing a bit too intimidated. They posted in the chat that they knew that Griffin was the better player, but they went out into like kind of outsmarting themselves here with the unit choices, just trying to go way too weird and off the brand from TKS, when I believe TKS actually has a pretty decent shot at beating 6 Leger when you play it to its strengths, but they try to mirror 6 Leger's in 6 Leger's strengths and try to make that the fancy thing, but MX-10s, when you only have 3 of them, just will never beat better and more numerous AMX-10s on the other side. And here goes the Heimatschützen.
Yeah,
first couple of them already shut down by an Elrek, and the rest makes it in, but heavily stressed out already. The ABs here assisting as well. The Legionnaire Sapeur with the Shock trait and Resolute trait coming in to finish off the day. And this infantry of Pasta, soon to be really combat inefficient. The situation here really quite rough. The MR10's the only units that can bring a bit of damage towards the enemy. They are fantastic, but the game is not in a stable enough position here for Pasta for them really to make a difference.
Yeah, it's the anthropological aspect of the Green Berets. Like that's why I personally have been a fan of the Green Berets more so than all the steroid chugging SEAL types or the absolute psycho Army Rangers that we have in our chat. The Green Berets, the thing that they were kind of supposed to do was to be an extension of intelligence operations, of finding certain ethnic minorities or just disgruntled groups, and then operating together with the first private military company ever, the Air America, the CIA basically fake airline that would drop the Green Berets and just keep up an air supply to whatever group the United States wanted to exist and be armed. And then the Green Berets would live there, and they would know the languages, and they would have like certain amount of anthropological and like sociological training so that they could do this stuff. And they would basically create civil wars, not necessarily out of nothing, but out of when there was no civil war. Funnily enough, the Hmong minority, often racistly called the Montagnards, are in the United States because they were one of those groups that were willing to take up arms in Laos and in Vietnam. And the Green Berets just like hung around there for 10 years, organizing them into fighting brigades.
Yeah, the TRF here trying to get some kills, and units get pushed back here as Milan 2s sit around, but yeah, Pasta is kind of cooked here on the flanks as well. M48 push shot got completely shot into pieces, and Pasta says they're falling asleep. Yeah, so I guess it's time to soon tap out of this because this is not going anywhere at this point. MR10s trying their best here as yeah, maybe Pasta would have needed a bit of Panzer Schokolade before the game to stay awake here and grind through it, lead the Heimatschützen to victory. Missile cannons coming in as a swarm, but the anti-helicopter AA on the side of the French is pretty good. Rotel, pretty solid at it. You get the Celtics, obviously, you get decent gun-based AA as well, so that's not really an issue. Gazelle cannon swarms and so on. Not really the way how you should approach this. Like, this is a matchup where you need to establish a front line with your port deploy infantry, then get enough ATGMs out there, and then do it with the MR10s and slow grind pushes. Maybe your superior, I would at least call it so, air together with the iHawks to beat down the enemy in the long run there. But the LGBs here doing a decent job, but we didn't see F-104 or Starfighter bombers or stuff like this coming in high numbers, and station here is just not looking all that hot.
Yeah. Do you think we're ever gonna get Air America civilian air transport planes?
As we don't get air drop in WARNO, we won't get that. Maybe we could get also not quite the scenario for it. Like,
yeah, it's 1970s drug trafficking in the Southeast Asia, not necessarily WARNO's time period, but the same people would have been involved. So
yeah. He also like yes, it's more the indirect wars and not the direct Cold War gone hot scenario for them fly straight into. But I mean, we have civilian planes dropping Soviet paratroopers into the Calden airport, so maybe we have Soviet VDVs jumping onto French nuclear silos after all, thanks to the community vote. So one of the timeline for sure is up for shenanigans. So maybe, won't say never.
Yeah, my personal like headcanon is that the entirety of 76 VDV was actually like slowly transported into Switzerland as like Hungarian tourists or something, and then you know, and then when they do their operation into the nuclear silos of the Albion Peninsula, all of them just switch off in the plane. More realistic than what is supposed to have happened.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see which side Switzerland is going to be in the Black Blackbird DLC. That's gonna be hot.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be a capitalist, relatively democratic nation, but they're gonna side with Pact because of territorial disputes with the French. That's gonna be my call. Yeah. Let's make it interesting. And Albania in NATO, of course.
Yeah, just like we're gonna have obviously Red India versus Blue China in the upcoming as well, which is actually more realistic than Blue Albania. And well, Blue Albania is actually also kind of realistic with how much they started to hate the Soviets. Yeah.
Between Albania and China, they have like how much? What percent of the world population?
Yeah. And
Griffin is leading +2 here, and Pasta just doesn't really have any units to do anything. There are even like there's a Legionnaire, the vetted up Legionnaire units doing backline work at Echo in case Pasta tried to sneak back there, and this is you know, Griffin got off, I'd say like relatively easy, but I would not write Pasta off. I mean, Pasta, the rank 1 WARNO player thing is of course a long-standing joke, but Pasta has been a reliable not the most improved, but like improving player for a long time. And I think Pasta's issues are kind of being shown here, which is that certain maybe a lack of experience in Division 1, or maybe lack of confidence coming from that lack of experience. But I wouldn't write them off just because of
and
these
maybe
games here.
also trying to make the weird divisions even weirder than they need to be. Like, all those off-brand divisions currently are actually still in a pretty fine spot. So you don't need to play TKS off-brand. You just need to play TKS normally to beat Six Leger and play it good. So I feel like the kind of going off-brand with how they played the opener made it harder than it needed to be for them. But their basic micro and decision making and their sneakiness has brought Pasta around in the past. Like, it's not a medi kind of style of annoying real line action or so. It's just like playing really funny divisions in a solid, normal way and overperforming with certain units. But for that, you still need to have the baseline, and the baseline just didn't quite happen in this one.
Yeah, I mean, like in this game, for instance, the overperformance could have looked like the Zero-Vet Pioneers and Heimat Jaegers moving in like 3 large squads to single Green Beret squad and doing like a simultaneous attack onto Alpha and Bravo. And maybe that wouldn't have worked immediately, but Griffin's opener did not have any infantry. So what would they have done about an infantry incursion into Alpha? It is risky, but just trying to play too standard, trying to rely too much on the TKS of old, the TKS strengths from before there actually was a division that could just get like 50 AM extents.
Yeah, and before they remember back in the day they had more availability on the MX10s as well, but frequently ruined TKS until TKS finally came back now. But yeah, the infantry is their powerhouse now, and that's something that Six Leger can't quite say for himself. They have an issue of the infantry is good, but it's really expensive. It's kind of similar issue of 82nd Airborne. So yeah, still good action here. Mirages come around, getting some good kills. Good moment for bringing them out to assist the F-111, but the airplay of TKS really powerful. It's just not powerful enough to overcome the situation that we have achieved here at this point. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see more Pasta, but obviously, we have seen a lot of players in the past struggling in their first games in Division 1, because even though Division 2 is playing ranked ladder players as well, Division 1, with the prize money on the line and with just the aura of competitiveness around it and so on, it's still a different feeling and a different kind of metagaming there, especially around the picks and bans situation and so on. And yeah, you just have to go into that a bit with a slightly different mindset than what you do to get you into the top ranks in Division 2. And I hope we will see Pasta adopt to it, because, as I said, I believe they are a really, really good player. I mean, they for sure got really far in the past in Division 2, and they deserved their spot here, but Griffin really showing why they were the favorite here and why they are one of the favorites maybe for the whole tournament with their latest showing. Like last season, they played well, and as you pointed out, in the latest pop tournament, they got it all the way. So gonna be interesting to see if they can make it in league as well, where competition obviously is really high all around as well, and we will see more of that after this match as well. So yeah, really excited to see how far Griffin can take it, and pretty hopeful still for the future of Pasta in this tournament. Just obviously a pretty tough start here with this series.
Yes, in this league season, not simply a tournament, Protos. But I've been laughing at myself. I imagined a little comedy skit. The West German officer sends the Green Berets to work with the reservists and be like, just make sure, just do whatever you do and just make sure that they're in combat shape. And the next time the officer comes in and check what's happening, all the reservists are farming opium at the field. No, that's in jokes for anybody who have read about this 1970s Indochina. They set up a biker mental lab in the barracks.
Well, that's a way of how to ruin East Germany as well. Addicted.
Oh yeah, no.
And yeah, Pasta here. I mean, not like yeah. The early game went terribly. They came back in the KD, and it really shows how Pasta like yeah the airplay, for example, like the way of using good strike aircraft and just keeping them slightly out of dodge, like the F-111s being able to come around so many times and still being alive in the end there. That's the strength of Pasta that I want to see more of in future tournaments. The MR10 usage here really solid as well. Just was slightly weird take of the first couple of minutes, and that can ruin you. And it's obviously tough against 6 Leger because it is such an explosive division with so much punching power in the early game. So trying to find a way of how to approach that with a balanced setup is always tough. And yeah, Griffin made it work here. Got the 2-0, got a good start into the season. And we will see how that will develop over the upcoming weeks here in the group stage. Pretty excited for it. And with that said, we will go on now into another game, including one of the league favorites, Tmanplays, coming around. And thanks you there for Tman for the raid just a couple of minutes ago. Hope you had a good stream. And we will see Nocturna versus Tmanplays next. So don't you run anywhere, guys. Next matchup gonna be a banger as well. Tmanplays versus Nocturna. Quick break, and then we're gonna get into that series. And yeah, we will cast group stages games from other divisions as well. Punk's not that. Don't you worry, we will come for your games as well. Not today though, but we will come for them over the upcoming weeks. We still have a good couple of weeks for the group stage games, and yeah, just wanted to get in with some bangers here with the first couple of casts. And Tmanplays versus Nocturna is another one of those. So we have Tmanplays here on the left side coming around with the 5th Panzer. We have Nocturna on the right side with 79th once more. Once more dodged the bans, just like Second Guards did once more. Once more it was Mnet getting banned, and Tman here picking counter picks against Nocturna personally, I believe. The 101st for sure, and 31st and 6, I believe, are also divisions that we have seen Nocturna on in the past, if I'm not completely uh, misremembering things. But Warno 9th and 56 also seem to be relatively anti-T-Man bands. 109th especially, 56 a bit so as well. And T-Man coming around in game number 2 with 24th. I'm really excited for that. A division that has been buffed back into action, especially with the M1 IP buffs lately. And I'm really excited to see what T-Man can do with a division that, in my eyes, still is one of his household divisions. He and Mix90 played it in times when it was really interesting back in the day. Then it dropped off a cliff because Warno meta shifted around, the division shifted around, we got the reservist trait on the National Guard and so on. So situations moved, but now it's going to be interesting to see what he can do with a reawakened 24th.
Yes, but going back to this game, once again, a very vanilla, very just straightforward 5th Panzer, top West German juggernaut armored division. No immediate weaknesses, famously very versatile, has large infantry squads, has decent recon, has a large number of Panzer Grenadiers and Martyrs, which are neither of which are like a top unit, but they can be brought out pretty quickly, and the numbers themselves are a nice advantage. And of course, lots of the Leopard 2s. Leopard 2s are fast, they hit hard, they don't have the heaviest armor, especially not compared to some of the American tanks or top Soviet tanks. But and against the T-80s, the most of the variants, the Leopard 2A3s, will have a little bit less armor, but they compensate with mobility, accuracy, and all of that nice stuff. They're also the West German tanks tend to be just itty bitty cheaper because they don't have heavy machine guns or missiles that would add to the price of the tank. And we're seeing the opener here coming in from T-Man, Fernspare with the Luxus. Luxus are not that well armed, but they are pretty cheap and fast and have very good optics, so they function as recon units. And on the opposite side, we see Nocturna do the very standard Razvedka BMP2 and Motorazvedka buy. And those are very formidable units early on. T-Man doesn't really have the troops to engage, or not to even to get close to the Razvedka BMP2s. And T-Man also not bringing out any modern tanks, only Leopard 1A5s, which are the modernized ones, the accurate ones. And really, T-Man just playing extraordinarily defensively. And when you're facing something like 79th, which is known for its very early punching power, and the punching power here is represented with the TO55s with the single T80 kind of adding to the technological ceiling of the situation. The Flame Tank TO55s are just they are the meta opener. Just having a bunch of guns out there early on in the game to immediately just suppress any kind of singular infantry unit or a singular vehicle, it's very good. And also it gives you a nice environment in which to start centering your anti-air, because standard way to deal with mech blobs is to attack them with planes. So Nocturna immediately seems to be in a pretty nice position. The middle position of Delta, which is where most of Nocturna's forces are going in, is a 2-point zone, whereas the northern and southern points are 1-point zones, where T-Man seems to be playing a little bit more aggressively, especially after the first pair kind of find out that the enemy is not really investing into those areas. And on the long term, this can pay off very nicely if T-Man can just hold those positions and keep the plateau of the middle kind of under a concave cover, shooting at the reinforcement routes and all of that sort of jazz. But now Nocturna is moving in here, and there is nothing. The Martyrs can't do anything. The first pair, lightly armed, Panzer Grenadiers, no luck unless they're side-shotting something. So how is T-Man going to do with this? Nocturna seems to be in a great position to start getting free kills.
Yeah. Leo 2A4C here now, being brought up for that counter push against all of this. And that can be pretty effective, because the 2A3 can't be penetrated frontally from the TO55. until they get really close, so it can kind of duel the TADBV, which it outperforms if it engages at the correct distance. The question is, will it get into the correct distance if the TO55s just push over the whole plateau? You can balance out the loss of the middle if you hold Alpha and Echo, but that obviously is a good bit harder than just capturing 1 point, and it's going to be a bit odd here for Teeman at the start of this game. German infantry has a bit of an anti-tank issue. The Green Beret, the Panzer Grenadiers, especially with only Panzerfaust 44s here, not the most amazing. And in the whole 5th Panzer, you need your tanks to be anti-tank, as your infantry just doesn't quite do it. You have a couple of pioneers with Carl Gustav that can assist, but Leo 105's here being stuck in the south, not that great right now for Teeman. He realizes that, pushes them forward, knows that he needs to capture some ground with them and use them a bit more actively on the battlefield right now. And that position from Alpha could be interesting, but we'll see how it develops, especially with Nocturna already having SU-24M cluster out. One of the main reasons why 79th currently is so strong. This is an absurdly efficient cluster bomber plane at the moment.
Yeah, currently no diving planes, so the MiG-27 does have an excellent cannon it can use to kill helicopters, but the two PA-1 helicopters with their not Hot 2s, but Hot 1 missiles, so 22 penetration, they are going to try to put a stop to this mech breakthrough of the TO-55s. The TO-55s, importantly, don't have smoke, so they are quite vulnerable. And Leopard missing its shot. This is the top Leopard 2A4C. It's more expensive than a single minute's income, and also it being a single lone unit, it can be suppressed even if its armor isn't necessarily penetrated. But working in tandem with these PA-1s here seems to be a
cluster bomber coming
really
in, but
good
I
deal.
believe it doesn't hit the mark. Nocturna did micro it though, so it only dropped half its bomb load, so it can come around another time. Good micro there by Nocturna on that bomber, meaning that it can come around for the Layer 2A4 once again. The TO-55 and the BMP-2 killing off the Fernspeer, really annoying there on the flank as well. Transport Panzer Fuchs is going down in the north without achieving much. The BMP-2 there helping out, and the BO-105s trying to get some kills. Might find it on the TO-55 here. Route achieved, but 2 misses once more. Unfortunate there, and there comes the Tunguska starting to take it out here. That is quite annoying. The Leopard 2A4C number 2 is coming around, but the BMPs and TO-55s now are in the annoying spots, and with the Tunguska pushing forward, this is really scary. Leo 2A4 tries to push closer to help out, but Tunguska micro there is still pretty good. Milan 2 hasn't found a way in just yet. Leo 105 here continues to engage. Leo 2A4 gets closer now as well, but there comes the seaplane. Just gun running stuff down. Mi-24V in the south. Roland not in the position to help out, as the seaplane is still in the sky. So situation here pretty annoying. Fernspire and Leo 105 go down. Roland 3 going active as the MiG-27 gets above it, but only gets a hit, doesn't get a kill. That might enable the F4F at least to kill off the Mi-24, but it still already got its kills worth. So Nocturna currently in a really good spot here.
Yeah, and a big deal here for T-Man is that T-Man has no recon in the main west front where the tanks are. The TO-55s and the T-80s, they could be vulnerable. Even Tunguska could maybe be taken out if somebody was to spot it. And now the first Jaeger Aufklärers are moving in and trying to give some recon coverage here. And immediately afterwards, yeah, T-Man starts moving that very moment. And looking at T-Man, no, that might be a little bit too early. Tunguska peeks in and takes out the helicopter. Second Jaeger Aufklärer is not in position. And of course, for the beginners in chat, recon is absolutely necessary, especially if you're playing with tanks, because tanks cannot ever spot units at their maximum ranges. They can, spot stuff that has bad stealth if it's not in cover, but they themselves have bad stealth, so they are putting themselves at risk. And this is why combined arms is so necessary. And taking out those Fernspeirs of T-Man is kind of paying a lot of dividends for Nocturna in just preventing T-Man from doing, for instance, the cluster tornado strike. Now, the cluster tornado strike is coming right now, and that is the main weapon you have to punish stacking.
Tunguska goes down as well. Leo 284 gets the kill there, so the tornado gets out with relatively little damage. And yeah, the TADB is still alive, but Tunguska needs to give up that. Nocturna needs to give up that position up there. Gets into Echo at the same time though, so if he can evacuate the TADB alive, that still is an okay situation. Issue is that it likely isn't going to happen here. Giga of Clara pushing. The Motostralky still keeps the Leo 284C in the south honest, but Giga of Clara coming in for the flank, might find the TO55 as well. Is Tman bringing a classic Tman play here, kind of losing the opener, but bringing it back after. We have seen it many times before. I like Nocturna's position around Echo, though. That the TADB actually might escape. Oh, this is such a big victory for Nocturna if he can get it out. It's moving slower than the Leo 284 can move on the road, so Leo 284 is catching up, might get into gun position after all. I believe TADB still has smoke, though, so with good micro... Leo 284 doesn't get the shot! Is moving around now, gets a shot now, does get the hit. It goes down just before getting into cover. Unfortunate for Nocturna. Important kill for Tman, as that TADB could have been a really annoying unit if brought back to full strength here. Now the Leo 284s are the dominant kings of this battlefield. There is another TADBV here, but it's 1 versus 2. So Tman can maybe start grinding up some kills here, which is the usual way Tmanplays wins games.
Yeah, so in the northern town right now, there's a large amount of BMP2s and BMP1s. These BMP1s, unlike the G variants, don't have the grenade launchers, but they do have smoke, and they are vulnerable to the Carl Gustavs, but not really that vulnerable to the Panzerfausts. In the fact that the Panzerfaust does not one-shot them, even if it gets a side shot.
SU-24 coming in. It likely will get some hits here, but doesn't quite get the kill. Good micro there from Tman, keeping it just out of the full brunt of the damage. So Tman's Leos are hurt, but they did dish out a decent amount of damage. He is getting a foothold towards Delta again. That means that losing the North is not that important if he can get back in there, because he has Alpha. Oh no, he lost an entrance to Alpha! Oh, Nocturna with big victories there. Motostreltsi's pushed out the Pioneers. Oh, that's a turn of events there as well. Really nice back and forth here throughout the battlefield here between these two players, and Nocturna pushing up Tmanplays units in the north. Really solid situation here. Currently for the player in red. The Leo 2s need to get it prepared a bit further, and the SU-24 cluster is coming for the kill. Bombs are dropped. Oh, this might be devastating. It likely will get a kill here. Yes, gets the kill and the supply truck. The second one damaged. We have 2 M109s coming around, but the lack of decent AA on the front line did that. Tornado cluster trying to retaliate here. Comes around for the T-80. Does get the bombs dropped. Does get good damage, but doesn't quite get the kill.
Yeah, and meanwhile, like, the BMP-1 down south has now found the Roland 3. Like, Tman spotted this attack coming and ordered in the Pioneer Carl Gustav and 2 Leopards. But the Carl Gustav was destroyed by the BMP-1 while in process. Like, the Tman basically is just going to have to reinvest infantry, just clean up that Motostrelky unit, because there is no recon to spot it for him. And also West Germans don't have gun helicopters that could do that. But meanwhile, one of Tman's biggest victories was moving the Jaeger Aufklärer at the southwest entrance of the middle zone, using with the Milan 2 destroying the flame tank, resupplying the unit, and now with some support and especially the double artillery, which is a really decisive decision from Tman to get that stuff early on instead of extra tanks, because now with the Jaeger Aufklärer holding this corner, as long as T-Man can impose a little bit of fire control on the west side of the plateau, he can keep on reinforcing it. And right now, Nocturna should probably start being a little bit more careful about stacking too many units together, because not just the artillery here destroying the Tunguska, but also the cluster planes have performed really well. And
Yeah.
you were saying?
Yeah, Leo 185 at the same time going down to the Motostrelki, as you pointed out. Jaeger Panzerfaust coming in there as reinforcement. At least the second Leo's still alive. Leo 284C in the middle got a kill against the BMP2, but the Rachvetka BMP2 still keeping it out. And TDBV now coming in for the kill. The Leo 284 only at 1 vet, no CV close by, so it still will take a while to recover its stress, even if it gets fully repaired. The situation here for it is not amazing. Jägeraufklärer's likely gonna get pushed here. So Leo 284 pushed into action here a bit before it wants to be. Maybe the Jägeraufklärers can get a stun onto the TADBV. They get stunned down beforehand. Reload time a bit too long. The Leo 284C in trouble here. Desperately trying to get the kill onto the TADBV. But
the Leopard could maybe get a side shot here. T80 is showing side armor, and the Leopard is still at normal cohesion, so the aim time is pretty good.
Ooh, SU-24 HE bomber coming in for the Roland. Big falling bombs get the Roland. Good kill there. M109s coming around, trying to do some damage. But we have the second TADBV coming up now. SU-24 is just ruining Tmanplays' day here. MiG-27Ks coming around once more. And yeah, once more the question is, why was 79th not banned in this matchup? Because those SU-24s are just so nasty right now with all the other stuff on top as well. Leo 284C here, failing to get the kill. Cluster Bomber failing to get the kill. ADB is still alive. The Martyrs all down. Next Tornado Cluster Bomber trying to get a hit out there, but not quite getting the run through. And Tmanplays in trouble here.
Yeah, the southern position, there were no reinforcements available from Nocturna to go to Alpha, so T-Man is now cleaning it up. And this kind of speaks of how Nocturna is concentrating all of the resources to winning this one decisive battle. Basically, T-Man has the justified reputation of winning games in the late game after messing up early on. And I think Nocturna understands that there are weaknesses, especially when you allow 5th Panzer to fully transition into the late game, having a lot of great ATGMs, and there are a lot of positions on this map that those ATGMs could hold. So Nocturna really just wants to keep up the pressure, wants to keep on killing the tanks, force T-Man to rebuy the tanks, and in that way slowly upscale and upscale with even when the technology is slightly lower in some aspect for 79th. But yeah, the fact that T-Man has bought so many 10-man Pioneer Carl Gustav squads, some of the best infantry available for 5th Panzer, and that those infantry units are basically nowhere like available anymore. So many of them have been bought already. Speaks to how well Nocturna has organized this mechanized fire support. T-Man is lacking in supplies. The tank is on 1 HP. The Milans, the Marder Milans are not in positions to fight because they would immediately get damaged. This is a really bad position for T-Man. I really don't know how he's gonna come back from this outside of the enemy just overextending really badly and losing a few key tanks.
Yeah, the Leo 284C being the only tank here out now right now is a big problem, and a bit surprising if we didn't see a bit more mixed in of Leo 1A1s and so on into this matchup. The BMP2s here have performed pretty well. The Martyrs on the other side, not so much. Roland 3 goes down again, and those Roland 3s going down like this is really brutal. They are the way of how you get one of those SU-24s sometimes. You don't get them with the F4Fs. That is for sure. So if you never catch them, they just gonna kill you over time. And +2 continues here. Really well executed 79th gameplay out of Nocturna here. And yeah, T-Man likely just gonna get punished a bit here by that powerhouse that we currently have of this division. F4F flying around in the rear. We see the eager Panzerfaust moving in onto the battlefield, and there goes the layout to A4C, and with that, there goes kind of the game. Not sure how Tman can do anything, and yeah, neither does Tman here, so Nocturna getting a slight upset here, but Nocturna seems to be in shape. Gets game number 1 here, and takes the first map.
Yeah, from the very opener, I think just that Nocturna just had the better unit composition, like stacking up one MBT with 4 smaller fire support tanks and sending them up the center to immediately start the armored warfare, whereas T-Man had this like wide front of sending a little bit of infantry, especially everywhere. But even though the Milan 2s perform excellently against everything that was happening here, Milan 2s don't perform excellently when being fired upon by 5 tanks at the same time, 4 of which have flamethrowers.
Yep, job fantastically done here by Nocturna, and Tmanplays just kind of not respecting the SUs quite enough, and also really maybe not playing the map that well. Like, playing Eiche around the flanks that heavily is a weird choice, and if you do it, I feel like you need to do a bit more, like play it with a bit more focus and force as well behind that. And yeah, that southern investment was massive, and it didn't pay off at all. It just got crushed by one Mi-24, and that was it. And ever since then, like the pressure on the center was kind of gone. The layer 2 A4 macro was solid, but that doesn't save you if you don't get an answer for the SU-24. And with that well executed gameplay here by Nocturna, I'm still really excited for the next one, guys. 24th in the hands of Tman. That is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would say that T-Man's like infantry, the 10-man infantry, the Carl Gustavs, was better than what the Soviets were going to send out there, but they just couldn't deal with the BMP. So there should have been like forces of Leopard 1s or Leopard 2s that could immediately engage something that threatened the infantry. I think that would have been the way to actually keep up those side investments to the late game. But easy to overinvest into that stuff, and also easy to just get caught by an Mi-24.
Yep. GGVP here to both players. Let's see what we get in game number 2. Quick break, guys, and then we're going to be back with the next one. So here we go. Nocturna versus Tmanplays game number 2. Before I jump in, real quick shout out to the Matcherino page, as we have price pool running up here again, and you can support it. And all you have to do is click the claim code button to add 25 cents to the price pool completely for free for you. All you have all you have to do is go to the website, click the claim code button, and add 25 cents immediately to the prize pool. It will be paid out to the players in the end of the season. You can also contribute directly. And also, if you are around already clicking on other sites, then maybe follow Florite over at his Twitch channel to don't miss his direct streams, and also leave us the follow and a subscription down here, and maybe a Twitch Prime subscription if you're already at it. Much appreciated. All the love, guys, as always. And with that said, let's focus onto the game here. Tmanplays and Nocturna coming out, and we see a classic out of Tman here.
Yeah, 24th, one of my personal favorite divisions. It is the division that mixes regular army with slightly lower tech than the flagship divisions of 8th and 3rd, and also with a bunch of National Guards units, which cannot be upvetted to 1, which is unfortunate, but are still like very high tech relatively to reserve units. You get National Guards Bradleys that have ITOs, that have 6 ITOs and 4 Penn Bushmaster guns for 60 points, and you can roll them, mixing them up with M1 IP Abramses, as well as older generation National Guards standard model Abramses without the armor package. And also, you get in your opener the very powerful anti-air helicopters, the OH-58s, and aircraft troopers, which are a nice way to kind of desperately get some kind of a tempo or early advantage out of this division, where it is one of the slower, one of the most kind of staying still and building up and playing the odds sort of an American division, which is why I used to like to play it. And you can, unlike with a lot of US divisions where you end up paying a little bit extra on everything, so you just get outperformed on the long term. The mixing up of National Guard scouts, National Guard's tow units, all of this stuff, it does pay off on the long term.
Yeah, you still get the Apaches, you still get M1 IPs that outperform most tanks in the game. They get beaten by the top bunch, but they are still high armor. And now, with the high availability and the lower price, they are really the reason why this division is back in action, because they get 3 cards of these beasts, and you get 9 of them now for 230 points, when you got 6 of them at 240 points before. And that means that just their tank tab alone has become a lot better. And they have gotten a couple of other smaller buffs again in the past as well. So, yeah, the aircraft trooper push here, really old standard. A bit cheaper than in other divisions, but also a bit slower because you bring it in a UE instead of a Black Hawk. But yeah, playing it out of the Citadel here from the center, really interesting choice from Tman, ignoring Papa and Alpha completely. And Nocturna is instead going right into that area. T-72s here of Second Guards. Second Guards a division that is really flexible as well. Currently one of the best all-rounders. Brings around the heaviest tank in WARNO and 2 really solid heavy tanks, together with a really good mix of high-quality infantry. So this should be a pretty interesting matchup, especially as I said earlier, Tmanplays did play a lot of 24th back in the day. He was one of the best players with it, together with Mix90, and it's great to see him back on one of his signature divisions.
Yeah, and 24th, of course, should be mentioned, is one of the more air-heavy American divisions. You get 2 Strike Eagles, which are Eagles with great LGB weaponry and laser-guided bombs, and also you get a bunch of standard Fighting Eagles, and you get older generation planes, Phantoms and such, to kind of fill in the gaps price performance-wise. T-Man is pushing with an Abrams and the aircraft troopers. The aircraft troopers being cavalry. Trooper stands for somebody who's in cavalry, means that they get security training, so they basically get an extra level of optics when they're standing still. Nice little bonus, works well with the Abrams. And Abrams pushed the Motorasvedka fired all of its AT weapons and didn't achieve anything. So far, kind of T-Man centered a lot of the units around the air coverage of the OH-58 and in the middle. But now, with the recon finding out where the enemy is, especially the NG scouts in the middle, the Apache could just go and try to get some kills. OSA avenging and destroying the NG Apache, which of course quite vulnerable to being hit due to the reservice trait getting routed way easier than a standard unit. Now T-Man is just getting more and more ATGM, specifically the 16 penetration old generation TOW missile. And this is not one that we see that often, and it is nowhere near the most powerful missile. It's actually quite unpowerful. It's pretty weak. Doesn't even penetrate the T-72B1. But having the numbers out and having the extra suppression damage coming in from those TOWs also means that the enemy is going to have to watch out for every one of them. The enemy will not know which one is going to be a TOW 2, an ITOW, or a standard TOW. So having the standard one out there is a great choice.
Yeah, and unlike the other lower quality ATGMs of the Pact and the Europeans, the Fagot and the Milan 1, it actually has good range. Like, it really is low on penetration, even slightly lower than those two missiles, but it has the 2,625 meter range, which is a nice extra benefit for a weapon that is mostly there to bring shock to enemy armored units over the long range. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many air we see from Tmanplays. He has an F-15 Eagle out currently, and how he tries to keep the enemy off getting that bigger tank formation with a couple of T-72s and then one big T-80. So the T-80 obviously has to be careful with the Strike Eagle, but I believe the armor is high enough to not get one-shotted by the Strike Eagle at the same time.
Yeah, T-Man's infantry in this division is not really the best. You get the fire teams and National Guards fire teams, which are smaller squads, but also you get engineers and, importantly, Engineers Dragon, which are 10-man squads for relatively cheap. They don't pay too much for the older generation Dragon missile. And
Strike Eagle out now, gets the first kill with his Spatzword Redka. Interesting to see what else it can get. The other side doesn't get long range AA. It gets a lot of OSAs, but the Strike Eagle is pretty high up, so getting a hits with that is not that easy. It gets solid planes, one of them being the MiG-29 9.13, which is the best MiG-29 in the game, having the same ECM as the F-15, having also the great Soviet R-73 infrared missile, the best Cold War infrared missile, even outperforming the AM-9M, and solid R-27Rs. So really solid plane here, but the Strike Eagle with the high ECM did dodge all the missiles, did survive, and get out alive for now.
Yeah, so Nocturna here has invested very heavily into tanks. First, the T-72B1s, which are pretty nice at they don't have the best weaponry, don't have the best range, but they are up armored. And then also with T-64s following up, which have a better range, but not as much armor. And this is T-Man's engineers are clearly going to be able to move into at least one of the points of a Papa and Alpha. But if Nocturna's plan seems to be to try to contest the middle, meanwhile, as T-Man is investing resources into that offensive fight. And now with the Spetsnazvedka finding out the aircraft troopers, Plamia putting itself up to engage in this, and two T-64s supported by Conquerors, and constant sorties by these older generation MiG-21 bombers, these small, practical, and just easy to reload, and not that safe, but very practical to have in your deck. One of the reasons why Second Tamanskaya is just a great division is that it mixes up stuff like super heavy tanks into those older generation bombers, which are often relegated into divisions like the Polish, for instance. And T-Man goes and unticks the zone with an Abrams leader, and now the T-72 is trying to follow up. The NG-TOWs and the I-TOWs stun them down and actually rout one of those without doing any massive amounts of damage. But this is a great plan from T-Man, I think. It is very cost effective to have the numbers of those missiles, and it kind of counters the very expensive tank buildup that is being done by Nocturna at the moment. On the long term, heavy tank buildup for Nocturna is not going to be the best because there are just so many ATGMs available for 24th. And the M1 IPs have to get close to actually do killing blows. And here we can see M1 IP moving back in the middle and the ITO opening fire. That's what's supposed to be happening here. And T-Man is very, very obviously and purposefully playing for time, considering that he does control the middle 2-point zone of X-Ray. Strike Eagle out once again. Another National Guard's Apache also coming in with those Hellfire missiles.
Yeah, and we see a decent push here towards the Pepper push. Alpha coming with a lot of T-72 still, but little support. The Modratvatka out there is the only recon that Nocturna right now has, and that is really kind of not allowed to die, because Nocturna wants to bring a big tank push out here. Has 2 T-64s, has some T-72s out, but all of that needs the assistance of some eyes to actually work out, and he's not even buying new recon. He's buying more Gutsy, so with the dive of the Modratvatka, he is super blind in this one. MiG-29's coming around through the north, but the Eagles stay further south. And first T-72 goes down. M1 IPs.
Long range side shot. Amazing accuracy.
Ooh, Eagles taking the fight with the MiG-29s here. That's a risky one, but the Strike Eagle coming in a bit later actually gets the other side out. Is the faster plane here, so might even be able to get a kill on one of the MiG-29s, as it has decent amount of MiG-29Ms. Nope, it doesn't get there. OH is not able to intervene either, so at least the MiG-29s do survive. The M1 IP gets killed off in retaliation by the brethren of the fallen T-72, but I mean, as T-Man, you're super happy with the position to be in. +2 here currently going on, and you have the air, you have solid ATGMs around the board. The M1 IP situation maybe not great, and maybe you would like to be a bit further ahead in the south, but double F111, that is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, and these are clusters. So these are it is not as heavy of a bomb load as the Su-24, which is heavier unguided cluster bombs, 8 per, but still more than enough to deal with these larger, wide concentrations of vehicles that are currently Nocturna is kind of reliant on, especially with the OSA being so essential in a medium-range air defense weapon. Your units kind of had to be positioned as medium-range units, and everything except the T-72s takes a huge hit there, with the M1 Abrams leader actually going and getting way too close, getting penetrated by the double T-72s. But so far, T-Man has managed to keep the enemy away from the middle position of X-Ray, which is the most important one. Guardate's unit with a Metis has moved into position to start contesting, and there is a serious lack of supplies. There are no missiles for any of the NG TOWs, and also just straight up needs more infantry to support.
Yeah, but got the kill on the T-64 there and still has one M1 IP remaining. And if the M1 IP can just stay slightly outside of the range of the enemy infantry AT weapons, then it can just melt through them quite quickly. It is only having a 105mm gun, but it has a 50 cal on top, has one level of veterancy, so each E-fire output is really solid, and yeah, it starts to grind into one Gardetzi there, stunning it down and just treading through it really quickly there. That's a big issue. MiG-23P going a bit deep here. Ooh, yeah, no, with the Iglas and all the OHs around, you don't want to go onto the F-15 like that. MiG-21 bombers coming around here again will likely achieve decent successes. Yeah, both National Guard toes down, but nothing here to deal just yet with the M1 IP. Oh, I say that as the MiG-21 cluster comes in and takes that out as well. Okay, Nocturna, maybe they're cooking again here, as those were some really good bombing hits here in a row.
Yeah, that's once again kind of a recon miss. T-Man's recon way too far away with the NG Scout. Immediately, the NG Scout actually moves in to a more central location. The like the MiG-23P moving out there and just trying to harass that F-15 looked so silly, but that was exactly what needed to be done. You just need to do enough suppression of the F-15 that your MiG-21s can just come in as a group. That's an excellent piece of airplay from Nocturna and shows how you can get like very good bombing victories even against the division that fields F-15s. But meanwhile, T-Man's infantry getting into close range fighting with the engineers and the infantry leader, and Engineer Dragon's dragon weapon does not penetrate the T-72 armor, but the suppression is more than enough. It's quite annoying, takes a long time to come back, and if T-Man has something like an Apache or something like an M1 IP nearby, the suppression can be deadly, because if the T-72 routes and just hangs there for a little bit too long, can be probably taken out by something else. MiG-29 trying to hunt down the Strike Eagle that just destroyed Soviet target, getting shot down by an F-15C. And slowly T-Man is whittling away the enemy air forces, but Second Tamanskaya does have a lot of depth, so, just Akatsiya keeps on firing, or actually starts firing at this point. They'll probably target a lot of like cheap units that are not that are quite like expendable, but that's why you want to have your Akatsiya constantly shooting, so it can slowly earn you passive income.
And yep, we have seen engineered dragons moving in the north, and T-72s moving around as well. As I was tinkering around about the important things of WARNO streams, and those are the sound alerts. Okay, but that didn't work out. Okay, that's sad. Shows up working on my end. Okay, we'll see. Okay. As we have engineers moving through the north. We have F-15 Sea Eagles moving around as well. And we have ITOs moving around. MiG-21 BIS HE coming out. Getting the engineered dragon. Getting shut down on the way out though. Igla gets shots on the F-15s, and I have no idea why the sound alerts don't work, guys. And I'm a bit sorry there, Clorid, but the important things here, chat is invested in this as well. And why does Owen Wilson Vow not work? I have the sound alert, I see it being in an extra like audio line now. It does get shown.
You need to do the thing I do on my stream, where you just say out the lines yourself. But yeah, so far, finally, Nocturna's infantry incursion into the middle, finally paying off dividends. Saperi Komroti moving in here. There has been a military police reinforcement, and immediately T-Man does buy a bunch of NG Bradleys into the middle. There's also an IP Abrams with now heavier ITO missiles also holding the middle. But if this military police unit gets taken out here, which seems unlikely, it's actually just destroying the Saperi Komroti outright. But if that military police unit gets taken out there, there is still chance for Nocturna to move in. But but Nocturna's infantry reinforcements, you see those two BMPs and that Saperi RPO, those forces were ordered to go north when X-ray attack was happening.
Strike Eagle gets another good kill here. The Eagle is doing its job, flying out there. MiG-23P on the way back in, but that Eagle is doing a fantastic job here. And yeah, the situation is not looking good for Nocturna, as they just can't keep up with the Eagles. The Eagles coming in time and again and ruining their day.
Yeah, now Eagles being supplanted by Phantoms, which are also some of the best cheap fighters. These things have 5 long-range missiles, which is 5 more than any Luftwaffe aircraft has. And even though they're older generation, AIM-7s still very much functional. and especially when working in tandem with better fighters like F-15s. But yeah, I think Nocturna now buying
this is a
3
tragedy.
OSAs,
This
and
is a
as the
tragedy
infantry
of the
reinforcement move in, they're all going
maximum
up
scale.
north. So that is where around those T-72s and remaining BMPs seems to be where Nocturna wants to play this. Even though it does have that little bit of a bridgehead into the middle position, that's not. I don't think Nocturna considers that to be a realistic place to contest. And when those NG Bradleys are going to move in here, I think it's going to be correct. There's way too much long range defense for T-72s.
Yeah, Phantom HE here coming in, going for the Saperi, getting a good bomb hit, and the airplay here is going really against Nocturna here right now. Finally gets a kill there, finally a shutdown, but the Strike Eagle are just so untouchable, and it's not really down for Nocturna's lack of trying, but the next one here coming in. But sometimes if your MiG-29s don't get lucky, or just in for a bad day, the OSAs here get one hit on target, but Strike Eagle still gets a kill on them. Can the second also retaliate? No, it cannot, and that means that the air defense is just weaker, but the Strike Eagle will be back here in time, and it still has 20 minutes to do its magic. The MiG-21s on the other side didn't do terribly either. M1IP here, for example, is in for a bad day again, gets deleted, but the +4 has ticked up quite far by this point, and Nocturna's ground forces are in shambles here, and the MiG-21 doesn't even make it out alive, so yeah, this is a bit of a tough one here now.
Yeah, 24th late game doesn't look like, the heaviest tanks and or the largest masses of forces even. 24th late game looks like just mega annoying. Just you can't do anything. You're always getting shot at from somewhere. There are always these cheap, basically free 20-point NG Scouts units. They're in every corner. You're always being spotted. You're always being targeted by something. There's always another wave of ATGMs right behind where you actually take them out. And yeah, we like the OSA here is performing pretty decently well, but a division like Second Tamanskaya is just vulnerable to the Strike Eagles. And this map here it's pretty easy to set up air defenses because the map is so small. But also, as long as Tmanplays just keeps on having those recon units out there in the front, it's not the enemy is positioned in such a predictable way that the Strike Eagles are always going to rather just take the risk and get the kill, because those lock on like guided bombs in the way that they perform in this game is that they are kind of lock on weapons. So if you can just get it out and flies like a second or under a second, the amazing agility of the F-15 can just turn away and get a nearly free kill.
Yeah, Gazia here trying to get some jobs done. The red forces in the north finally starting to at least get back into alpha, but that only will buy them a bit of time. Nocturna trying to push back into the center, but the power balance there is just a bit too much in favor here of Tmanplays. There is not quite enough meat behind this push. There is no real threat for the south. Both sides have exhausted their combat forces here by quite a bit. Both sides have taken some heavy tank losses, but Nocturna needs them more right now than Tmanplays, and that's the big issue here for Nocturna. Gets into the north, MiG-21 might open up a bit of a path for the push into the next zone to at least stop the take, and 18 minutes is at least nearly half of the game still left. If you stop the tick, then you might be able to get a similar lead as your opponent got back onto them, but it's not going to be easy, and it needs really cohesive movement towards Papa now, with good Acacia salvos, with the T-72 coming in just in time, and with a Strike Eagle hopefully not ruining the day once again here.
Yeah, and the thing is that when you have the Apache, which is kind of behind this wall of OH-58 Stingers, and also standard Stingers, the Apache can move in and it can target on long range and it can run back behind its air cover, and this is especially when it comes to pretty slow tanks like the T-72s, that is just something that has to be dealt with. And the bomber aircraft, the MiG-21s, are so crucial in removing like core parts of this defensive formation here. And we just saw one of them dive in and get hit, destroying an NG TOW. An NG TOW, which is not worth that that sortie. But how was Nocturna supposed to know what kind of an ATGM was out there? And here we see Nocturna coming out with a proper fleet of air supremacy fighters with 2 of the obsolete and 1 of the modern planes, working pretty well together considering they do have the same speed. And artillery is driving away the M150A1, which also is a tow carrier, and is going to continue being tow carrier because there's a bunch of supply next to it. And just Tamanskaya just not able to build up the critical mass needed to break through 24th. So like 24th, much like MNAD, has endless amounts of long range late game defenses, and with the key weapon of the 2 Strike Eagles also like incredibly good at punishing the enemy whenever they take the risk and move away from cover.
Yeah, Engineer Dragon here getting hit as well. And we will see Cluster Bomber coming in here, 40 OHs for trying to get some kills on the M1IP. Phantoms here fighting the MiG-23s. That's a relatively even fight as well, especially as the OSAs get involved now, but still going well for Teeman. And Nocturna is itching to get the CV in there, but only has 1 minute now, 2 minutes left with the contest to push the enemy out of there. And that just does seem to be a slight bit too far. They have fought well, but the Strike Eagle, we haven't seen them dominate in a while, but this game around, they have been dominating.
There it comes.
Strike Eagle here once more hits the T-72, and yeah, that's a great counter against a division that only has OSAs. The Air Force off second, still pretty decent, but yeah, the Strike Eagle here just doing its job really well. Got the first kill on the first T-72, coming around for the second one, gets hit by the OSA, but once more does survive. Oh, does finally go down, but it likely has done enough here now with the both T-72s going down. An M1IP CV on the way, couple of Bradleys here still around. Only 1 minute 17 needed of any tick, and 14 minutes still to do so. And even if that doesn't happen, Nocturna is in a tough spot to get up to 2,000 points at this stage.
Yeah, and the T-72B1 OBR 84, if it has its side armor hit by an ITO once, it's dead. It's done. It cannot deal with a single shot at to its side armor from those NG Bradleys or from those ITOs that are just south of the engagements and will probably soon be in other parts as well. It's just it's a slog just trying to deal with every single one of them. You send out your tanks, you send out your artillery, you send out your planes, and the enemy just keeps on resupplying and reinforcing those units. And the Apache was taken out by that massive air attack, but that air attack was very costly, and the Apache had kind of already paid for itself at that point. Now T-72 engine destroyed. Yep, T-Man won that so convincingly, and it was I think that was like you said, an excellent counter pick, just recognizing the one massive weakness or lack of literally anything, which is a lack of long range AA. And then also T-Man from the very start concentrating in getting a lot of the good fighters out. T-Man didn't buy any Chaparros. I don't think the division even ran a lot of ground-based AA. Just all the cards of good air supremacy fighters, well controlled, not sacrificing them, not just flying them around stupidly like I do on my streams. And and that way, even in the end, when Nocturna was seriously trying to contest with the air, T-Man just kept having it, and very rare to see so well executed. Like from the very opener to the end, T-Man did not make serious mistakes during that game.
Yeah, a really, really well executed team and play. Not my most well executed cast here, but well executed tech support on the channel. We finally have them back, guys. we finally can bring them out in the cast as well. And I added a couple one extras now again back into it, so you can use the sound alerts through it again, like the Tychus one or like the classic parting one. So let's go around again, guys.
No GG? No GG? Fuck you, no GG!
Fun cast here today again. Was a
What the fuck, this guy?
So should be pretty exciting to
Okay,
see
time to subscribe.
what we will get out of this league season. The game is in a great state. I really enjoy where we are at with WARNO. Really enjoy the map pool here actually as well. Like I myself have a lot of fun in ranked games, and I'm really excited to see what we will get with these players as well, because player pool here seems to be a bit closer than last season. We don't have anybody just standing out as much as Mix90, and we have a lot of good players. And yeah, this is the perfect note to end it on. So with that said, guys, hope to see you all in the next one.
And no, wait, I don't know if my voice is heard right now, but my streams have recently become basically, I'm doing them earlier in the day. So you may have missed them. I used to stream in the evenings. Nowadays, with my healthier lifestyle and waking up 9 o'clock every morning, I've been really enjoying streaming earlier. But all of you people are asleep, so go watch the VODs. Thank you.
Yeah,
so many people have asked me to stream again, and I'm excited. Like, I agree with your the maps are pretty nice. I think people are always reflexively angry about all new maps, but the game is balanced. There is a lot of stuff to learn in it that even if you're like an old dog and a WARNO veteran, but also so many vanilla divisions are so competitive that even new players can get into the game without buying DLC and teach themselves to be Division 2, Division 1 competitive. It's still possible. The game is in a nice place.
So yeah, with that said, guys, we will finish it with some more Titanic flute here, and see you all in the next one. It was an honor, and yeah, we will have more over the weekend. See you. Goodbye. Have a great day.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought.